And so we built our Icons Real Estate brand specifically for that, is to, build content for top agents, build relationships with top agents. Like, podcasting is such an awesome way to build a relationship. Again, that's how I know you, and we've done it. We've introduced each other to a bunch of people and done business together, and it's great. It's how you meet people.
Welcome to Streams to Impact, and be inspired to engage passionately in the work of your calling while achieving financial prosperity through multiple streams of high-yield returns on investment to bring your dream of making a meaningful impact to reality. I'm your host, Dr. Allen, and I am delighted that you are joining us today. If you haven't yet, get a complimentary copy of our exclusive guide, High Yield Investment Blueprint. Secure 18% plus returns in 60 days. Go to our website, highyieldblueprint.com. That is www.highyieldblueprint.com. Just provide your email address and we'll send you a copy today. Hello and welcome back to Streams to Impact. I'm your host, Dr. Allen, and I'm so glad you are joining us today. And we have a very interesting guest with us. Kris and I go back several years now. And Kris is, at the moment, he's an international real estate consultant and founder of the #1 real estate podcast network. So just a bit about Kris. He is a business growth expert, and he founded Adore SEO several years ago, and that's how he and I actually first came in contact with one another. After navigating the 2008 financial crisis, Kris developed a simple system to help businesses attract their ideal customers and grow predictably. So from that, Kris has transitioned into many different areas here, still focusing on business growth and development, and he has taken a big interest in podcasting. And as he and I were talking before we came on the show, that's actually how he and I first came in contact with one another. So Kris, welcome to the show. We are delighted to have you. It's always good to be back with you. So Kris, you have a really interesting background. If you could just start off by telling us how you transitioned from your work as a consultant to SEO expert, and from SEO expert to real estate entrepreneur and to podcasting.
For sure. So as a software engineer for many years, working in finance, lost my job in the global financial crisis, which is, almost 20 years ago now. Hasn't that ticked by? I made a bunch of websites, learned SEO, turned out I was pretty good at it. And it was eventually I started working with some real estate people and went, holy moly, there's a whole bunch of money in real estate. And I knew nothing about real estate other than, I live in a house. That's about it. And went, man, US residential real estate is, just about the biggest. It is the biggest market in the world, right? So I went, that's a good one to focus on. And so our primary business was SEO for a bunch of years, and we worked with some agents and helped them become the biggest agents in the country, which is pretty great. I'm sure you're familiar with Avery Carl. We helped her in her rise. The first year she was with us, she did $53 million in production, which is pretty okay. Mm-hmm. 4 years later, she did $1.066 billion, which is just an insane growth rate. Obviously, she's a fantastic businesswoman. It's not on our laurels. It's on her own hard work. But that's really cemented our foray into real estate. And so, the thing with SEO though is it costs a lot of money. It takes a lot of time. And so we could really only ever work with really top-notch agents. Most agents are not in the position to be spending $5,000 or more per month on marketing, right? And so we built our Icons Real Estate brand specifically for that, is to build content for top agents, build relationships with top agents. Like, podcasting is such an awesome way to build a relationship. Again, that's how I know you, and we've done it. We've introduced each other to a bunch of people and done business together, and it's great. It's how you meet people. And so that's why we built the Icons brand, to build those relationships. And I wish I was the sharpest businessman in the world, but some of it just comes through happenstance, right? And we had this one guy, Matthias Baker, who's a probate realtor in Beverly Hills, California. He was on our show, and he's like, "Man, I had such a great time being on your show. Could you produce a podcast for me?" I'm like, "Sure, why not? We've got all the infrastructure in place." And so we launched his show for him. And then along came another person and said, "Hey, can you launch a show for me?" And we did, and we went, "Man, there seems to be quite a need for this." And we went, "Wow, that's actually way easier to manage, way easier to produce, way easier to sell." And really, we've transitioned the vast majority of our business to focusing on podcast production, primarily for real estate, and have grown the #1 real estate podcast network on the planet. And it's fantastic.
Well, that is indeed fascinating. So, what is it that podcasting actually does for businesses that other avenues don't do?
Sure. Well, I mean, let's focus on real estate because that's where we know, and I'll focus on residential real estate because that's what we're best at. But well, that's what we do the most of. And so, in the US, 87% of residential real estate transactions come from referrals. Like, that's a big chunk. You can buy Zillow ads or Facebook ads or whatever the hell, and they work. But you're chasing that 13%. Let's go after the 87%. And so building that referral network is super important. I just saw a funny meme today of wherever you are in the US, you'll see billboards of real estate agents, and those billboards aren't cheap. And I saw one today. It was like, "Hey, I spent $18,000 on this billboard. Please, please, please buy a house for me." I thought, well, that's at least interesting. You probably get some attention from it, but those billboards are not cheap, right? And how do you stand out from the other market? Well, a podcast is one way to do that, but you can make money from a podcast build your business from a podcast in two ways. One is referral partners, and the other is through the content. So say you're an agent and your best referral partners come from title companies or mortgage brokers or the local pool guy or whoever you work with. Well, they're the people you invite to your podcast, right? So if mortgage brokers are who that you build great referral relationships, great, invite mortgage brokers to your podcast. So if you're talking to 52, one episode per week, you're talking to 52 mortgage brokers in a year. That's 52 potential referral partners. Even if only 10% of them refer your business, that's 5.2, right? That's probably more referral partners than you got right now, and that's going to really grow your business. And that's before you've released an episode, before you've put anything on the internet or done social media or anything. It's 5.2 new referral partners. Happy freaking days. That's going to pay for the effort. But then the other part is, and one of the parts that a podcast works so good with that too, is you're elevating the guest, you're elevating the referral partner, you're making them feel good, you're promoting their business, and you're doing them a favor as well, right? You're showcasing them and why they're so good. Plus then you give them social snippets that they get to share on their platforms, so that expands your reach as well. But the other thing is you're making like super relevant content. Sure, it's awesome if you got a podcast like Joe Rogan and 100 million people listen to it, and you get Elon Musk and Donald Trump to come on your show. Happy days. But, when you're selling a house, you don't generally need to have 100 million people listen to it. If 10 people listen to it and 3 reach out and 1 buys a house, well, it's way worth doing, right? And so if you're making super specific content, like if you're in some small town or a subdivision and you're talking about, loan rates or how to buy a house or how to increase the property value in that little area, well, the only person that's going to listen to that show is someone that wants to buy a house in that area, right? So the more niche specific you can make that content, the more it's going to be boring as hell for anyone else on the planet, but the more exactly your target market's going to listen to it. And, even if they don't, it gives you something to post on Facebook, post on your website, post on Instagram, post on YouTube that people can see and they go, "Oh, that's that Alan guy again." That's right. So when you come top of mind, because I forget the statistic right now, but the average American, I think, buys or sells a house like every 8 years or something like that. And, like you want to be working with that person, but you can't just send them the same crap, month after month. Hey, buy a house, buy a house, buy a house. But if you can keep them top of mind, that you're a great agent and show them what an authority you are by providing good content, this is how you get a pool cleaner, or this is how you do whatever in your local area. It's valuable content for them, even if they're not seeing it or not watching it, because people are busy, and and those cat videos are pretty distracting. But they still keeps you top of mind, and so when they do come to sell a house, they go, Alan, he's my boy.
Well, Kris, let's focus in here on my particular audience. Our audience are passive investors, investing not just in real estate, but we offer private placement investments that includes real estate, but other entities as well. And so they are professionals, entrepreneurs. They're engaged in whatever the work of their calling is and find fulfillment there, and desire to make an impact in the world through the work of their calling. And investing is the way that they're developing their wealth. What would be beneficial for them to be on podcasts?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you've got cash and you want to make an impact on the world, then one way is to provide great content to help that, like whatever your area of impact that you want to do. Like, if it's giving back to the community, is building content around that. Like recently, I was on Jake and Gino's podcast, the multifamily guys, and Jake, he's been married for Jesus, I think coming up on 30 years or something, and he's wants to give back. He's doing a podcast with his wife. He's got, I think, 5 kids, or maybe 6 kids. He's got a lot of kids, and been married for.
That's Gino, I think, that has all the kids, right?
It is Gino. I'm sorry. It is Gino. It is Gino. It's I think he's got 6 kids and been married forever, and he wants to give back to the world by helping educate people on not only just how to make investments and raise money, which he's obviously very good at, but how to have a happy marriage and how to raise a great family, which the world can need a lot of. And what an awesome dude to be able to give his time back like that. So that's one thing to do. That's hard to make money from that kind of stuff. But if making money is not your game, that's great. Where if making money is your game, and you want projects to invest in, then you can use the same model. I've been speaking to one of my friends who has a SaaS business. He does. We used to be software engineers. We went to university together, and so I've been talking to him about doing the same. He wants to sell his business through private equity. So what better way to meet private equity partners than have a podcast about selling SaaS businesses, which helps you learn about it, right? Because you're speaking to the actual guys that are buying them, and so you ask them everything you need to know. Tell me how you value businesses. What are you looking for to buy businesses? And then you can tick all those boxes and get the best damn price possible. Plus, you already have all the connections, right?
Absolutely, and that is it has been podcasting where I have built my network of investors to give our investors the opportunities to invest, and through that podcasting, I mean, I have developed an exclusive list of well-vetted, very experienced, very outstanding syndicators who have excellent opportunities, and it's all come through podcasting.
Podcasting is such a great way to build relationships. Just coming back to Jake and Gino, I was on their podcast last month, but I was previous on there about 5 years ago. It was a really long time ago. And I bet we've flicked a few emails here and there between that. But it's when I jumped on the show to talk to them, it's we're buddies. It's because you've had a deep, long, meaningful conversation. So it's even if you don't, I guess on podcasts a lot, and that's how I've done business for years. I lived in Southeast Asia for more than a decade. I live in Europe now, but I do all my business in the US. And so it's very rare that I ever get to the US. It's very rare that I ever see anyone in person. But, it's great to build those relationships. And this is just such a fun and easy way to make meaningful relationships. And that's just with the host or with the listener. And, the listeners are great too, but just with the host is worth it enough.
Well, Kris, you talked about living in Asia and in Europe. You're from Australia, so tell us about that journey from Australia to Asia to finally living in Europe, and how have you been able to manage that and still make a living?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Australia. Actually, spent a couple of years in California when I was a little kid. My dad moved to Silicon Valley, which gave me a social security number, which has been coming in a lot of handy. It's, having a social security number makes you be able to sneak right into the whole American system without having the hassles of being a resident or a what's it called, a citizen, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I first moved to London as a software engineer in my 20s. Lost my job in the financial crisis, as I mentioned. And then went looking for what to do. Found my way to Southeast Asia eventually. Got married, made a bunch of babies. Lived in Vietnam for many years, which is great. And Southeast Asia is certainly a developing place, but it doesn't have a lot of great opportunities for young people. And so my wife and I decided we wanted more for our children. Developing countries, they are lacking a lot that developed countries do have. And so we wanted to move to Europe. I think the US is the best place in the world if you want to make money, but Western Europe's probably a better place to raise a family. Like the cost of living here is a lot less. A lot less. I was in Miami for a conference a couple months ago. I was like, holy crap, how much is a beer? And then they want 25, 30% tip on top. I live in a smallish town called Valencia. It's about 1.4 million people or something. Third biggest city in Spain. It's great. I'm gonna jump on a bike in a minute to go pick up my kid from school. They really embrace the slow living here. Spain certainly, it's not the richest country in Europe, but people are doing okay, and they're certainly not as driven as Americans on average, which is a good and a bad thing. It's. Hats off. America's the best place in the world to do business, which is why I do business there. But other places can live a more relaxed life. Like, for instance, August, everything shuts down. The whole country takes August off. Like, do not think about doing work in August. Like,
really? Wow.
Yes. So that's kind of nice, right?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the way it is here in November and December. I mean, not everything totally shuts down, but it's hard to get anything done certainly in December. I don't even plan on having guests on my show during December because they're all doing other things. So
yeah.
But I mean, even then, it's people they're not slowing down. They're just changing their activities to other busy things. The U.S. is a busy place to be.
Sure is. That's why the economy is growing so strong. Like, I remember years ago, the euro used to be like coming near, 2 euros to a USD, and now it's like parity. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, Kris, what is one key element that has actually given you the ability to develop businesses and at the same time give you lifestyle freedom?
I mean, working online is really, really good. Like back in Vietnam, my wife had a bunch of restaurants, which keeps you. It's hard to run a restaurant remotely. The restaurants cost a fortune. Like, even in Vietnam, you're looking at 6 figures to set one up, which is like, that's a lot of cash to put out. Like, running stuff up. Like, you want to launch a podcast, don't cost anywhere near that. Like, it's like doing stuff online is just so much cheaper and easier, and I can take my computer anywhere and work, and I absolutely love that. And since then, my wife has sold her restaurants. She sold them when we left Vietnam, and now she works with me, which is fabulous. She was thinking about doing some other stuff, like in personal stuff in Spain here. I was like, stick to online, then we got freedom. We can go anywhere. I'll take it with me.
And speaking of Gino and all his kids, you're not doing too bad in that neighborhood either. How many do you have now? 5?
We got four. We got four.
4.
Got a
Oh,
good
okay.
decent collection. He's still got 50% more. Yeah. But yeah, they keep you busy.
Yeah. I'm sure that they do. Um, so if someone wants to get into podcasting, um, where do you suggest they start? With guesting, or should they just go out and start their own podcast?
If you want to learn anything about podcasting, if you go to our website, iconsofrealestate.com/framework, we have our whole framework of how we do everything.
Can you say that slowly so Americans can understand what you're saying?
It's called iconsofrealestate.com
Okay.
/framework
Okay.
/framework. So iconsofrealestate.com /framework, and it shows exactly how we do everything. So we got a framework of, how we produce a podcast, how we book guests, how we do the syndication, how you be a host, how you prepare your guests, absolutely everything. You can download it all for free in PDF format, and we also have our head podcast coach, Mr. Thomas Fonseca, who has a video going through every single part of it as well. So you can watch that as well if you like. So that's iconsofrealestate.com /framework.
And we'll have that in the show notes as well. And so just give us one tip from that. Where's the best place to start? Guesting or starting your own podcast?
Most podcasts fail. I think it's after like 3 episodes or something. Like kudos to you, man. You've been doing it for years. You're like, it's something like 90% fail after 3 episodes. And then of those, like 90% of those fail after 17 or some number. It's
really?
The amount of podcasts that have started and failed is astronomical. And
really?
Generally, the hardest thing is you need to work out how to monetize it, because it's really hard to keep things consistent if you don't know how to make money. Where if you're making money, well, it's pretty easy to like keep that motivation alive, right? So you really need to understand, what the hell is the purpose of my podcast? What am I doing it? If you're doing it for joy and fun, well then keep it joy and fun. But like most of us, we need to make money. And so you need to work out how you're going to make money, and keep that main thing the main thing. And if you have a business that that grows through referral partners, which is most, then a podcast is a great way to build those referral relationships, and then that pays for it, and then you can do the rest for fun.
Yeah. Well, Kris, what are your final words of inspiration and advice?
Well, to be consistent, that's a thing. Building a business takes a really long time. Building anything takes a really long time, but you should have fun doing it. Like if I used to be a software engineer. I loved programming, but I worked for big corporate. I worked for big banks, and it sucks. You're like making billionaires richer. Yeah, it's great. And I found you can work really hard, no one cares. You can do nothing, and no one cares. It's just a total BS game. Where I'm working for myself. I love what I do. I get to serve my clients and help them grow their businesses, and generally you can see that they love doing what they do too. That's why I like working with small business owners, because they're doing it because they like doing it. And so find your passion and follow that.
Yeah. Well, Kris, it's been a delight being back with you. Enlightened investors, thank you so much for being with us again today. And please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. And I would be most grateful if you would take one step further and leave us a rating and a review on your favorite podcast application. Until next time, live abundantly, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for tuning into Streams to Impact, brought to you by Steed Talker Capital, a company empowering passionate professionals like you to develop multiple streams of passive income built on solid passive real estate investments. As a significant part of our endeavors to make a cosmic and meaningful impact for this world, Steed Talker Capital contributes significant portions of our profits to activities and organizations committed to better understanding the equine. These endeavors attempt to enhance the treatment of horses worldwide. Steed Talker Capital, working for a world where all creatures great and small flourish abundantly. If you are ready to learn how our passive investors have earned an average 33% annual return on their investments, schedule your complimentary passive income to Prideful Impact consultation. Obviously, we cannot continue indefinitely to offer these valuable consultations for free, so grab your passive income to Prideful Impact consultation while you still can. Go to steedtalker.com/passive